Hey guys, so in front of me right now, we have 3 of the top 2x2s on the market right now. On the left we have the Valk 2M, on the right we have the MGC, and in the middle we have the newer player in the market, the Dayan TengYun 2x2. So in this video we're going to be comparing all of these cubes together and to see which of these 3 is actually the best cube on the market. So let's get straight into it. So we're going to be judging these cubes in 3 different categories. The first category is the feel of the cube, which will help us determine whether the cube is actually fun to solve on or not. The second one is performance, which is things like corner cutting and lockups, among other things. And the third category is times, and I'm going to do an average of 20 on each of these cubes, which should give us a pretty good database, and we'll see if one of these cubes actually comes out on top for our times. So we'll get straight into the feel. So we'll start with the new guy in the group, which is the Dayan TengYun 2x2. Or well, at least as when I'm uploading this video, this cube is pretty new. I'm not sure when you guys are watching this, but at least as of right now, this cube got on the market about 2 weeks ago, so it's still pretty fresh on the market. I've done somewhere around 100 to 150 solves on this cube, so I do have a pretty good opinion about what I have to say about it. So we'll just start with the feel. So for the feel of this cube, it does have a pretty frictiony and tactile feel, and that's pretty easily reflected in the sound, which I'll show you here. So it is pretty frictiony, and I guess the best way that I could describe that is that there's really no amount of lube or tensioning that you can do to this cube to make it actually feel smooth. So for those reasons, I'm probably going to give this, we'll say a 7 out of 10 in the feel category. So now on to the MGC 2x2. So I've had this 2x2 for quite a while, and I've probably done somewhere around like 1,000 or so solves on this cube. So I've definitely had quite some time to make up a good opinion about this cube. So what I have to say about its feel is that the sound doesn't really reflect what it feels like, and I'll show you the sound here. It kind of sounds like a rough, tactile cube, kind of similar to the Dayan TengYun, but the feeling is 110% different. It's got kind of a really buttery interior, and the actual touching between the pieces is much smoother than you would expect by the sound. So for a score out of 10 on this cube for feel, we'll probably give it a 9. So from the MGC onto the Valk 2M. So for the Valk 2M, I have also had this cube for quite some time, and as of right now making this video, this cube is my current main. I did do a video a while back where I compared this cube and this cube, which interestingly enough is my most viewed video on my channel at the making of this video. But this cube has been my main for quite some time, and I've probably done somewhere around 3,000 or 4,000 solves on this cube. In fact, it's actually kind of starting to get a little bit worn out. But that shouldn't factor into what I have to say about it too much. So for the feel of this cube is by far one of the butteriest, most smoothest cubes I've ever had. And this time, unlike the MGC, it is definitely reflected in its sound. So the cube is just really tactile and traditional Valk-like, if you've ever felt a Valk 3x3, where it's just really kind of tactile and edgy, but at the same time it is brilliantly smooth. So I'm just going to give this cube a solid 10 out of 10 in the feel category. So while I have the Valk in my hand, we will just go straight into the performance category, and starting with the corner cutting of the Valk. This cube's corner cutting is seriously phenomenal. It definitely tops that of some 3x3s. It can pretty comfortably do 45. In fact, there's really not many places on this cube. In fact, I'm not sure that there is any where it just won't corner cut, period. So this cube has pretty much infinite corner cutting, so A+ there. But the one complaint that I do have in the performance category is that this cube is exceptionally easy to corner twist. It takes almost no effort. And now, it doesn't happen in my solves that often. I would say maybe 1 in every 50 solves. I'll have an algorithm where I just happen to finger it just right, where it'll like twist a corner somehow, and that does eat up time, and it would be really unfortunate if that happened in like an official solve at a competition. So for the performance of this cube, we'll give it like an 8 out of 10 just for that corner twisting problem. So now on to the YJ MGC 2x2 again, and this time in the performance category. So for the corner cutting in this cube sort of has one of those funny looks that some cubes have, and I think it's just because of the rounded interior edge that it has, which kind of makes you think that it would have corner cutting, but unfortunately that's really not all that true. It kind of struggles with 45, where you get this thing. If you pull hard enough, eventually it will, but I have had it happen before where when you pull too hard, a little piece comes springing out from right here. So it's corner cutting. You can't really notice any problems with it during an actual solve, but whenever you're just playing with it and testing corner cutting, you can sort of see that there's a good 10 to 20% angle where it just doesn't corner cut. So we'll probably give this like we'll give it like a 7 out of 10 in the performance category. So now on to the Dayan TengYun 2x2 performance. So I'm just gonna get this out of there right away. This cube's corner cutting is really not that good. It can't do 45, and anything slightly less than that it usually can do, but it's still a bit of a struggle for it. It doesn't feel very natural. Now, under the same rhythm, this cube does have a little bit of lockup problems. Whenever you're just solving, sometimes you'll kind of get like a little thing where it just like doesn't really, like stuff like that, where it just doesn't really want to churn that well, and I have had to deal with that several times during solves, as to where this cube just kind of doesn't work, especially if your hands are like shaky or if you're under pressure. This cube is not the cube for you sometimes. So unfortunately for you, Mr. Dayan, this cube is gonna get like a 5 out of 10 in the performance. So now we are going to do an average of 20 on each of these cubes, and the point for this is that just because the Valk 2M has much better feel and performance doesn't necessarily mean that it will get better times than the, well, rather lacking Dayan TengYun. So we are going to test all of these cubes in an average of 20, which should provide us with a pretty good database, and we're going to see if there's any clear winner. So cue the time lapse. Okay, so now for the results. So the first cube that I solved on was the YJ MGC, and I accidentally did 21 solves because I was kind of on like an autopilot, but I suppose that probably doesn't really matter. So we got an average of 20 of 6.14 on the YJ MGC. Then the second cube that we solved on was the Dayan TengYun, which had an average of 20 of 6.36, so just a little bit behind the YJ MGC. And then last but not least was the Valk 2M with a 5.98 average of 20, which is by far the winner. So if we go over here to this little post-it note that I made, these are what all of the cubes got in their given categories. In the feel, the Dayan got 7, in the performance, the Dayan got 5, and in the times, we'll give it a 7 because it had a 6.36. Then in the YJ MGC, it had a 9 in the feel, a 7 in the performance, and then we'll give it a 9 for times, because I normally average just above 6 seconds, so that was pretty normal. And then for the Valk 2M, we had a feel 10, a performance 8, and then I gave it a 10 on times, because it's really not all that often that I have good averages under 6 seconds, so that definitely deserved a 10, which means that our winner is the Valk 2M, second place is the YJ MGC, and third place is the Dayan TengYun. So unfortunately, the new player, the Dayan TengYun, really did not live up to its expectations, and it's really not all that good. So hopefully you were able to pick a favorite out of these 3 cubes, and maybe next time that you go shopping for a 2x2, this will help you know which one to get. So hopefully this helped you, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.